What is going on to the CloverTac crew and my merry band of morons? Welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast. This is season 2, episode number 15. For the record, today's date is Sunday, September 8th, 2024. If you're out there in the live chat, go ahead and say something. If you're watching this in replay or listening to this in podcast, welcome. We do invite you to actually join the live stream. Why? Because there's a lot of great people out here in the audience and great conversations going on. Plus, you'll be eligible possibly to give us our third topic, which is the random viewer topic. Now, we'll talk a little bit about that later. This episode, as always, in season 2, is brought to you by our good friends over at European American Armory, EAA. It's in the game. You guys know about EA. We'll talk a lot more about them here in a minute. But before we get going, my name is Trey with Ghost Tactical, and I will be your conductor for tonight's orchestra and concert. Hope we don't hurt your ears too much. We'll bring in our co-host Clover here in a second. But before we do want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank everyone who is out there and always supporting both of our projects. But we ask you to, how about that? We ask you to go and support our sponsors as well. If you'd like to spend some cash with them, great. If not, at least maybe go over to their social medias and leave a comment on something and say thanks for sponsoring the Ghost and Clover podcast. So it does help it and lets them know that people are actually watching this fiasco. If you're new to the podcast, this is kind of how it goes. Clover and I both bring a topic to the podcast that neither one of us know about. We don't know what we're going to talk about ahead of time. And then, like we said, the third topic is brought to you by you guys. So when a time comes, Clover is going to tell you how to enter the possibility of being chosen. And we do ask this. Once we draw a name randomly on who's going to give us that topic, we give you about 30 seconds to give us a topic. So go ahead and be thinking about that topic now. It can be talked about anything: guns, cars, food, music, politics, anything and everything. Just as long as we don't get kicked off the internet, we're good with it. Faye says, love you, Ghost. I love you too. Let's bring in our co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the gatekeeper of all things Texas. What's up, Clove? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. I've been better, but I'm here. So
you are here. That's a good thing. Yeah. Ted Richardson already throwing down the Trump vote. There you go. I think it's going to be a nice, I'll put this, a civil discussion Tuesday night. Do you think it's going to be civil or no?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we are powered by EAA, and we will talk to them about here. But before we move on, Clove, I believe tonight you get the first topic. So what you want to talk about?
I do. Let's go handgun arrests.
Handgun rests.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't really know where to start or where to go with it. Do you use any handgun arrests?
Do I use them? Very, very seldomly. I've got 2. And I don't typically use them. Maybe if I'm doing some ballistic stuff or I really want to do something with a handgun, we're talking like legit accuracy. But you know me, when I'm shooting at steel or to target, I'm not necessarily trying to be precise. I'm more of a defensive. Like if I'm hitting the silhouette, I'm happy with that. That said, I do have a couple rests. I have an MTM, one of those red ones. I think pretty much everyone's probably at least seen them before. And I do have a Caldwell. If I do use one, it's typically the Caldwell. I know that a lot of people say that the ransoms are very good. I don't own one. I think I might have used one before, but I have an MTM that I don't ever use, honestly, and then a Caldwell that I use very seldomly. But you're much more into the precision and accuracy testing as far as being a precise thing than I am. So our MTM and the Caldwells are I've known those. What do you suggest, or what are you using these days?
Mostly the ransom multi-cal steady rest. Mostly.
Okay. Yep. I thought you used a ransom.
But I mean, for everybody out there listening, I mean, bags count, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Well,
You-
yeah, I've got several different bags, so if you want to count
The
that.
issue, the issue I've got with bags is if you're using bags right for handguns anyway, you're probably going to damage the bags. About the only
Yeah.
way you can get around that is use the bags as like wrist support.
Okay.
And
See, I've
you're
never
not
used
really,
bags with handguns, so I wouldn't I
yeah,
wouldn't have ever thought about using bags for handguns. That's just me
yeah.
though.
If you lay the frame or the barrel, you know what I'm saying, on those
Yeah.
bags, it's not going to extend past the bag and muzzle blast,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and all that good stuff. You're probably going to damage the bags, especially as they get older and the material on them or whatever gets more brittle.
Yeah.
So I mean, in that, that they've got a place. I mean, if you're, once you've kind of graduated, and let's just say you're learning precision shooting or something, once you kind of
Mhm.
graduated from being able to come off that rest,
Yeah.
and especially if we're talking kids, um, obviously that rest helps them from having to hold the full weight of the pistol, and then, you graduate to a bag where that supports your wrist, but you're technically still holding the pistol, right?
Yeah.
You're holding it up, I should say. Um, so they've got their place, and that definitely counts. But a rest, and depending on how that rest is designed, is going to take out uh, as much user error as possible. But you're right; it's you know to what level or what degree do you need one? It kind of depends on what you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, is a big deal. Like the ransom, you've seen them, I'm sure. The I don't even know what they call them now, but back in my day, um, it was the ransom hostage, what they called it, the hostage arrest. It's the
Yeah.
ones
I
where,
don't. I don't. I wouldn't know
yeah, but
the
you've seen it,
models or
the
anything.
one there where they lock in. It's actually
Is
the
that the
grip
one that's kind of
panels.
used? Looks like kind of like a vice grip almost.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay,
Like all
okay,
your,
that's the one that I've seen. I just didn't know the model of it.
yeah,
I just the vice grip
yeah.
one's what I'm familiar with. Yeah.
And you literally, you don't even touch it. You lock it all in there with special grip panels made for that particular firearm, and
Hmm.
the trigger is remote activated and the whole nine yards. Takes the 100% takes the human equation out of it.
Yeah.
Those are expensive, and then of course you have to have the grip modules for each firearm you're going
Sure.
to use. But nowadays, I was talking with, forgot who I was talking because I've got a pretty good relationship with Ransom. Not that they would send me such an expensive rest as that, and I can't foresee spending the money on one. But we were talking about the grip modules, and he's like, "Don't you have a 3D printer?"
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say, couldn't
"Oh,
you print them?
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh snap! You 100% can 3D print those because all you got to have is a bushing, basically type thing,
Right.
the shape of that grip, to hold it in place.
Yeah.
Uh, but going off of that, um, one thing that a lot of folks out there I know that they don't realize, and of course you know this, I'm sure, is that,
Probably not.
yeah, pretty sure you are. Like I've seen people take, and I've got a I've got a high score. A company called High Score makes it, and it's got these bushing clamps that clamp down on the grip and all this.
Hmm.
The thing is, that's for sighting in handguns. It's not
Yeah.
not an actual rest. And I've seen
Yeah.
people that think that's a rest. And the reason that's not a rest is with a handgun, that handgun has to be able to recoil.
Right.
If you lock that thing down to where it can't, and if you've noticed that hostage rest from ransom, when they fire it, it always jumps up and locks, right? It recoils.
Hmm.
And the reason is you're going to start damaging components in that handgun if it's not allowed to recoil. It's not
Well,
designed to be locked
yeah, I'm
down.
gonna say, unfortunately, as much as we discuss recoil as being an adverse thing to most shooters, recoil to a certain extent is needed,
Yeah,
for
right.
mechanical issues. I mean, it is needed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, the ransom rest is the one, the multi-cal steady rest, which is
Uh-huh.
um, leaps and
Is
bounds.
that the one that you use in a lot of your videos?
Yeah, it's that aluminum
Okay.
one. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Okay.
basically a big solid block of aluminum, which is
Yep.
pretty awesome because I mean you can run over it with a tank and not mess it up. Just it's pretty crazy.
I
Um,
don't. I don't want to know how you know that, but okay, we'll take your word
well,
for
I don't, but I mean it's basically three square or rectangular pieces of aluminum. Like it,
it.
how do you mess that up?
Yeah.
Um, well, for you, probably in a sandbox, you could do it. I'm sure. But
I could probably mess it up somehow. I
yeah,
guarantee I
yeah.
could.
What they say
Don't
is
hey,
give it to a
don't
marine,
challenge me. Yeah,
right?
if you want it broken,
Right.
give it to Marine.
But that one I use the most, and the reason I use that the most, it has to do with the weight and the rigidity, with it being solid aluminum.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then also it's got oh man, with the and I think you've got a couple of them too. The Sunway Photo
Oh
tripods.
yeah. Yeah. Love them.
Oh,
Love them.
like it took me a while to buckle that thing up. Of course, it's got tripod mounts on it, but to
Yeah.
buckle that up to a tripod and holy Moses, being
I
able to
never thought
stand up,
about using a tripod with a mount. That'd be interesting.
man, it's a game changer. It's so nice. Um, but then I've got a few too. I've got the MTM like you're talking. Well, I don't know that it's like you're talking about, but I've got the K Zone, which is
I don't know which one mine
it's
is.
a combination rifle pistol, and so it separates the front part from the
Okay,
rear.
so that's what I have. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I have. Yeah.
yeah, and so if you're just
It's
doing
got
pistols, you'll need
basically
that.
different attachments, I guess you can disconnect and connect for different things you're using, correct?
Yeah, it's got like three or four different parts
Yeah,
that all buckle
that's what
on it
I've
or
got.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
screw on.
exactly what I
Yeah,
have. Yeah, I don't know the name and model of it. I'm not,
yeah,
but yeah, that's what I
yeah.
have.
But yeah, you talk about the Caldwell. The most my most hated probably is the I ever had was it's called the Pistolero from Caldwell. It was a
Let's see. You
plastic.
go to Caldwell Pistol
It was a plastic one. So
Res.
their metal ones are not too terrible, but that plastic it's horrible.
No, this one's mine. Mine's definitely not plastic.
Yeah, yeah, you got a decent one then. But the
Yeah,
Caldwell, the plastic one, to my knowledge, is called the Pistolero. They may have changed the name, but that sucker's wobbly. It's horrible. But the main difference between it and the MTM case guard, well, first of all, MTM case guard is like they're the shit when it comes to injection molded
mine's the
plastic.
lead sled. This is what I
Oh
have.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The lead sled. Yeah, that's a rifle.
Or yeah, I mean, I don't know which one. There's
More of
many
a
of them, but it's this one of the sleds. Yeah,
more of a rifle style, but yeah, it would work.
it is. Yeah, it
Why
is.
not?
But and it might,
Uh,
honest to God, mine might be a rifle. I use it. Like I said, I don't use it hardly
yeah,
ever.
well, all you have to do, and a lot of people don't realize this, if you want to use a rifle rest for a pistol, if the V notch is able to be spun, um, even 90 degrees, all you really got to do is spin that around, and then you can all you're using is that
How
front
about
V
that?
notch. The difference is that you have no support. That's
Yeah,
the only thing. Like
yeah.
your actual quote unquote pistol rests, they're gonna have support in the grip area, under your hands.
Yeah.
But you could always do that with bags, right? You could spin the V notch
And, and,
around
and, and that's what I usually typically
and then
do
put
is
bags under your hand. Yeah.
yeah, we've got at my range, I've got a few bags of my own, but we have a large stack of sandbags. And I typically will stack 2 or 3, 4, sometimes depends on what I need to get done, but stacking some sandbags, and that's going to, basically support my arms and my wrists and all that. And then at that point, like I said, I don't do a whole lot of precision testing. So even if I'm doing that, I'm not necessarily trying to do testing. I'm probably just saying, okay, if I can get steady and all that, is it going to be relatively accurate in follow-up shots? So,
Hmm.
me, I'm not a precision guy. As
Yeah.
long as I'm hitting target, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. And then I built one. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah,
ever watched that video or seen that or not.
I don't know if I have. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, I actually built a pistol rest out of just some scrap I had here at the house one day, and it was. I think it was before. I'm pretty sure that was before I got the ransom, because if I don't know why I would have even been tempted, but I think it was because of that Caldwell Pistolero I had. Um, I'd picked one of those up, and I was so just discouraged and unhappy with that.
Yeah.
That like, fuck it, I'm gonna build my own.
Well, and that's something to be said about that is some of these rests can get, I mean, some of them are $400 or $500. I mean, some of them can get expensive. You can get them for $100. Sometimes you can get them for $25. Maybe get some used ones on eBay or something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're inclined to build things, whether it's from wood or metal, and you can weld or whatever, yeah, maybe the best option is to build one with some scrap like you did, and at least before you go and purchase one of those high-end rests or whatever, see if you like rests. I don't like rests, but maybe do that to try them out first.
Well, you got to have a use for it.
This is true.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you're testing, true, like bullseye accuracy, if you reload, like, it's a big deal. I mean, that's why I've had rests for so many years, was basically the reloading. I mean, you got to be able to, if you're trying to figure out if there's deviation, something going on with the ammunition, like, you've got to be able to take as much of every other element out of it. Like, the human element's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. Not to get down in the closing minutes of my segment here, I'll get down a rabbit hole, but how many how many times have we seen, especially with the YouTube world, how many times have we seen videos where people are trashing firearms, and anybody that's got a lifetime of experience, especially, can watch that video, go, holy shit, no wonder he's having problems with that. He's doing this or this or this, right? So, or how many times do we know, like, the companies we work with tell stories about their warranty, and people send it in and they can never figure out what's wrong with it. And it's because the user is just doing something, right? So the whole, this gun is sub MOA, like your Bergara, for example, which is a rifle, but it applies in this context.
Sure.
That thing will shoot single hole groups all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, provided the human pulling the trigger is not screwing it up, right?
This is true. Yeah. Well, I think that, like you said, human error is a huge thing. And regardless of what discipline you're shooting, pistol, rifle, it makes no difference. Precision, self-defense. The one thing that you need to be able to do is we obviously want you to be proficient, right? We want you to be proficient with your firearms, but you need to be consistent. Even if it's consistently bad, you can get better, but at least try to do the same thing every time, because at that point, you're going to know how things are going to react. You're going to know how the rifle or the handgun is going to react. You're going to know how that bullet's going to react, all that stuff to your human errors. We all have errors. No one's a perfect shot. Well, maybe Jerry Mitchell or something, but in general, no one's a perfect shot. But as long as you're consistent, whether it's good or bad, that's really the key in my eyes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much my time. So,
well, there you go. Let's talk a little bit about EAA, or European American Armory. And obviously you've heard us talk about the Witness 2311, the high powers, the MC14 tip up, the Disruptor, the Untouchable, man, the Liberator. You've got the Regard and all that. Cool thing. Kind of a new arrival, if you will. A couple different ones have come out. You've got the Gerson, the Witness 2311 match. And the one that what's that?
I said, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And the one that I think could really be interesting for some people, they now got the high power in the California compliant model. So if you're out there and you live in California or other states that are restrictive and all of that, they do offer that high power now, the MCP 35 in the California compliant. And that's not just going to be California. That's going to be a lot of other things. But typically, if you can be compliant in California, you can be compliant in a lot of other places.
Now, I've been out of kind of out of commission for the last. So I'm a little bit behind the curve. Is just the standard model available, or is the PI available as well?
I think right now, well, I don't know. I know that the base P35 And the PI I can go check on the website. But I know that just the standard base P35 high power, and this is the one that doesn't have like the Picatinny on the bottom and all of that, but it's the basic. But they might have. I'm trying to see here.
Man, if they could get the PI in there, talk about carry and like
Yeah,
great
that would
size for all
be
of that.
awesome.
And a I love my PI, dude.
Yeah,
And everybody that has shot my PI or I have seen shoot a PI, absolutely love it. Like you would think that shorter barrel, shorter slide, all this other stuff.
yeah.
You would think, oh man, it's got a little bit more snap, or no, it doesn't. This shoots just as
No,
good as the
it is, and
full size.
it's a fantastic gun.
Yeah,
I mean, let's just be honest. The design, obviously, the high power design, over 100 years old, still a phenomenal design. Um, but what I love about what Gerson and EAA have done is they've tried to. I don't want to say modernize it in a bad way, right? Because they really didn't modernize the design, but they just made it a little better. It's just a little bit better.
well, that's all you do, right?
That's
Let's
all you
be
can
honest.
do. Yeah.
Whether you're talking about the high power, or you're talking about, the Breda designs, or you're talking about the 1911s.
Yeah.
Those are pretty solid designs from
Yeah.
the start.
Well, there's a
So
reason why they're historic
yeah,
designs, right?
yeah, they wouldn't have the lasting power if they weren't pretty solid designs, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's all you can do is these little minor tweaks. A lot of people, you say that when you say that, oh well, whether it's it's the high power clones, or if it's a 1911 clones or 1911 clones or whatever it might be, sometimes people get butthurt that, when you say it's better, and understand it, at least for me, most of the time when I'm saying that, I don't mean like they revolutionized it, or it's not
Right.
like they've just tweaked, just a few little things. And in all honesty, the vast majority of the quote unquote improvement, I think, is just from modern technologies, from
Yeah.
modern CNC machining and tolerances and materials and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Is what makes a lot of the difference. It's not even, well, it's not like some engineer come up with some crazy new idea.
No, no, and sometimes it's more aesthetics than anything.
This is true. Make them
Something
look
as
more modern.
simple as that. You're not changing the mechanics of that firearm. You're changing some aesthetics part of it. You're changing some ergonomics of it, make it feel a little bit better, maybe, or whatever. You might change the grip angle by a degree. Well, that might not seem like a big deal, but for some people, it's a huge deal. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing great things. And what I love about Gerson in talking about EAA, but Gerson handguns is they not only welcome, but they take in all of the EAA suggestions and implement them into it. So it's not just a company's and here are guns. It's Keith goes over there a bunch, and they're always on the phone talking about designs and what they want to do. And hey, let's make this better. Let's change this a little bit. So I think that's a cool thing. And the fact that EAA is willing to take a chance on some different designs and some different, I don't even know what you call them, but maybe like color combinations and different designs.
Yeah.
They take some chances, man. And there's some pretty cool designs out there.
Well, they've got here's another thing that's between them, not just them as importers, but in the industry as a whole. How many companies do you know out there, for the folks watching and listening? How many companies do you know that seemingly have no clue as to the pulse of the market?
Yeah. Yeah.
And EAA is one of those, and I attribute a lot of that to Chase, quite honestly.
I do too. Yep.
With Chase over there at EAA. He come up through a local gun shop and all of that, working his way up. So, he understands, right? He's been behind the counter at the retail level or whatever, and he kind of understands, how to keep track. He also is the guy that deals with the distributors and the reps and the other things.
Yep.
So he's constantly getting that feedback, and utilizing that feedback, not just listening to those people and putting it in his pocket, but listening and then going back to Keith or, getting word to these companies. Hey,
Yeah.
we would, the customer, the end user out there really would like this feature or that feature or this model or, whatever. And I think that's huge.
It is huge. And I appreciate what they do because they're taking classic designs and making them a little bit better in a lot of ways. But the biggest way is bringing classic designs, modernizing them, and bringing them in at a price point that everyone can afford. Mm-hmm. And there might be people that can't afford an FN, high power, or an original, 1911 or whatever. That some of these are expensive guns, but for half the price, you can be introduced to these guns, and they're phenomenal. So kudos to EAA for sure.
Yeah, and jump over, take a look everywhere on the socials, everywhere else. Usually they're EAA Corp, at EAA Corp. So go check out their marketing team. Does pretty good at getting some great photos out of all the different things that they.
Man, you're gonna make Omar get a big head now. Just saying.
This is true. But that's okay. He screws up enough at offsets.
This is true. This is true.
Keep in mind moving forward before Ghost segment comes up that we will be letting one lucky live viewer out there pick our third and final topic of the evening.
Whoop, whoop.
So make sure you're paying attention for that. Make sure that you've got the little live button clicked and you are live. You're not 2 or 3 minutes behind. And also be thinking about what you want that topic to be, because if your name does pop up, then you will only have a short period of time to get us that topic before we move along to somebody else.
That's right.
You're up, bro.
Before we move on, I do want to mention something I forgot to mention. This can be found on all of our individual and personal podcast platforms, but you can also be found on the Self-Defense Radio Network and the Firearms Radio Network. So go check out all your favorite pro gun, pro toy podcasts over at selfdefenseradio.net and firearmsradio.net. If you're looking for the Ghost and Clover on the firearms, it's going to be on his side. There's no reason for us to both put it up on the firearms, so it's going to be on the Clovers, but it'll be up there at the top and say newest podcast in a couple days and all that. Jacob says he's already got his topic, and Scott says, I have an idea tonight. That's scary.
I did not know you were not putting it up on Firearms Radio Network.
Yeah, so when I first got on there, they just sent me a text and was like, hey, Clover's already putting the Ghost and Clover up. There'd be no reason to put it up twice. So not a big deal. So the last probably 4 or 5 I haven't put up there just because no reason to be redundant, Yeah,
so I didn't know that. It makes sense, and I was already putting it up. So
yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where it ain't no thing but a chicken wing.
Yeah, true. All right, cool.
My topic could be interesting one. And I want to hear out there in the live chat. And if you're watching a replay or listening to a podcast, utilize that comment section and let me know what you choose as well. This will be a fun one. If you were stranded on a deserted island by yourself, what 5 things would you want to have with you?
All right. So what type of an island are we talking about? Can we get more specific with it, or is that something we got to decide?
Okay, just to make it fair, let's just say it's a castaway type of island. Sandy beaches, some tropical, some vegetation, not necessarily a foresty island, but not a flat island either. There's some vegetation, there's some trees, there's some different things, maybe some streams or whatever. It's one of just a basic tropical island.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. 5 things.
5 things. I'll start. I'll give you a second. I'm going to go with my first, not necessarily in any order, but my first. And let's say no satellite phones or something like ham radios. You know what I'm saying? Like no
like
none of
modern
that stuff.
Tech electronic, because you're on an island anyway. How are you going to charge it or get batteries? So.
Well, you could say I want a solar powered satellite phone, right? So we're not going to say that. We're not going to say that.
I forget about solar nowadays. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
right.
does make it
It's
real
getting
easy.
big, man. It's getting big. So
So no electronics, essentially.
no electronics, right? We'll throw that caveat out there.
Well, let's
Yeah,
just say it could be you're talking about like a shipwreck.
uh-huh.
Electronics would probably get wet. It would ruin them anyway, right? Or
Probably,
something.
anyways. Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
would think,
yeah, yeah.
unless you were smart enough to waterproof them, which
This
most
is
people
true.
aren't.
This is
Yeah.
true. So no
Anyways, yeah.
electronics. Got you.
No
That's good enough.
electronics. Yeah. My first, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I would say a blade, and if I had a choice of blade, I'd probably go like a machete because you can do anything with like a machete. So I would say um, at least some sort of blade, but I would prefer it to be like a machete. Um, Scott says, "You mean like Gilligan's Island?" Yeah, like a tropical island. I mean, there's like there's a little bit of everything on there, but Foxtrots is a knife. It can a knife, and I think yeah, we'll kind of go through the chat here when we get done. So my first thing, and like I said, not in any order, but the first thing that comes to my mind is a blade, in like a machete would be preferable.
Right. Right. Um,
And we can have the same ones.
I
We're not
want to
saying once a
weigh.
knife's gone, it's not. No, it's
Yeah.
not like that.
So number one, I'm gonna say I'm probably gonna want a way to start a fire.
Yeah,
And I'm unsure on what way that would be because this ain't my topic, and I was blindsided.
yeah,
I would want obviously I don't want anything very short term, super short term, like say a cigarette lighter. That's dumb, or
yeah,
matches
yeah.
that are perishable or consumable or whatever you want to call it.
Sure,
So some type of a striking rods type fire starter, maybe.
sure. Yeah,
One of those that would obviously last a while. Maybe last until I can learn to rub two sticks together or something.
yeah, yep. Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I put down on my list fire starter, and you can take that whatever direction you. It's something to start a fire. Obviously, not something like you said. You'll probably have to, and will learn how to use sticks and different things to start a fire. But yeah, whether it's I don't know, a flint or a lighter, matches, um, all sorts of things. I think that, but you've got to figure out heat, right? Heat is going to be able to do so many things, not just to keep you warm. It's to not just to cook, but it's maybe to, if you're unsure of the water supply, boiling water will take care of the vast majority or most things that could hurt you with
Mhm.
that. It also could be a signal at night if someone's a big cruise ship or a freighter boat's floating by an island and they see a random fire. Maybe they stop and say, "Wonder what the hell's going on over there." So all sorts of things, but fire, and I would just say fire of some sort. Fire is crucial, right? So
Yeah.
that would probably be
Yeah.
my second thing is a fire, something to do to start fires with.
Yeah. Um, Number two,
Number two,
probably
yeah.
a few hundred, 100, 200, I don't know, something like feet of paracord.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a 1,000-foot spool would be unreasonable in the scenario proposed, but a couple 100 feet, that can
Get
stuff
a
in a bag really
lot of
easily.
stuff done. Yeah.
Well, it can also fit in a bag or something really, really easily. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's not, that could certainly be on a boat or a plane or something somewhere,
Sure.
a few 100 feet. So, yeah, I would say, being able to, from making shelter to potentially making a raft to,
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of different uses for that. So, yeah, fire number one, my number one, paracord, some way to attach things without screws and nails and rope. Some type of rope is obviously the way to go with that. So paracord.
Yeah. A lot of people out there are saying fishing pole, and I wouldn't necessarily go in fishing pole. And I love where you're going with paracord. What I would say in the best scenario, if you're able to find some what they call survival cord, because if you cut open the survival cord, one of the strands that make up that cord is fishing line. So you can have that, but yeah, paracord. I mean, rope. If nothing else, rope. Some sort of rope. But yeah, paracord is such a good item to have. Like you said, you can do everything with it. You can tie together sticks to make a raft. It could be first aid. You could utilize it somehow for first aid. Lots of different ways. Getting, I don't know, big old leaves and maybe tie them together for some shelter or whatever. Collecting rain if it's going to rain. There's a water supply for you. Fishing, there's all sorts of paracord you can use in so many ways. But book out there says plastic trash bags. I mean, I get where you're going with that, but there are so many things that I'd go before trash bags. I think he's thinking a lot of different ways for maybe fishing or collecting water or shelter. I get it.
Yeah,
I'd probably use that tarp before I'd use trash bags. It's a little bit heavier and thicker and maybe a little bit durable. You can drag logs and all sorts of stuff with a tarp. That's not going to be mine. I will agree with you with the rope. I'm going to go with one that it sounds weird, right? It's going to sound like, man, that's kind of bougie of you. But maybe, I mean, I think you'll understand, and I hope people do understand out there. I would want some sort of footwear. I'm not saying they have to be hiking boots or combat boots, just some kind of footwear.
So so we're getting dropped naked is what I'm saying, because if not, then odds are we probably have shoes.
Well, this is probably true. I'm not saying you're being dropped naked. No, I'm just, I would just, one of those things that I would want to make sure that I would have shoes. People don't understand if you're trying to survive, keeping
I
your
would agree
feet,
with that, but I almost think that would be a given situation.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it might be.
But I totally agree. I don't even walk around my house without sock feet's about it. Like, I do not do barefoot at all.
I don't either. I'll wear slippers and stuff like that, but I've got to
build shoes out of coconuts, man. I'm sure.
I mean, you could build a lot of different things with your paracord, especially, but
they build bras out of coconuts, right?
This is true.
How hard is it to do a pair of shoes? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely, I would say, okay, then assuming that we have shoes on our feet when whatever happens, I will go with a tarp. That's being my number 4. I think a tarp. And I know that you can utilize trash bags, but if you're able to find a tarp, that's definitely something that I would want to have, because you can utilize, like I said, not just for shelter and collecting water or whatever, but with your machete or whatever, or maybe there's some trees that have fallen or whatever, picking up a bunch of wood for a fire or whatever, you can load those onto a tarp and drag them a lot easier than making one trip instead of a bunch of small trips carrying wood in your hands or whatever it may be. A tarp people don't realize a tarp is so beneficial to have in those survival type scenarios for sure.
Yeah. What are we on, the third one?
I think that was, at this point, I don't remember. I have no idea.
I think we're on 3, because I said the fire starter and a paracord.
Okay.
Yeah. I've gotten. So, some type of a hatchet. I want, a blade on one end of the blade, and then, blunt on the other. So a hatchet I'm able to not only chop, but also hammer with.
Yeah. That's fair. Hatchet. Yeah. I would go, like I said, I go the machete for different reasons, but a hatchet. Yeah. I mean, having that blunt edge to chop would definitely be worthwhile for sure.
Well, I'm just thinking with a hatchet from your shelter, to, even you were talking about, somebody was talking about the fishing line. I'm assuming, being able to fish to eat or whatever. But if you had the hatchet, you could very easily fashion spears to spearfish. I mean, it would be
No, yeah, absolutely.
Super easy. So, getting food would not be a problem. And I'm not wasting one of my 5 on fishing line or hooks or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, for sure. My fourth, I'm going to go back to what you were saying, is the rope / paracord. Absolutely. That's a must. So my 4, a blade, preferably a machete for me, rope / paracord, a fire starter of some sort, and a tarp. Those are my 4. I got one more coming up. What's going to be your 4th? You've got now blade, your paracord, and some sort of fire starter, correct? Those are your 3 that you've
Yeah,
mentioned.
right,
Okay.
right. I need a volleyball, man. Obviously, don't I?
Well, that was actually going to be my 5th. Is going to be a Wilson volleyball,
I
because
was joking.
Everyone needs a friend.
Yeah, I was joking. I can make a
I
friend
was
out of
not
it.
actually. I was
Out
not.
of a out of a coconut or something. I'll figure out a way to do it. A rock. I can have a pet rock. It'd be good.
There you go, or a seashell or something.
Yeah, pet rock named Bob.
Bob. Yeah.
Why not? This is a little outside the box, but probably. But I'm gonna say, you were talking about, potentially boiling water or doing something. You're gonna have to have some kind of a pot for that. So I want some kind of a metal fire safe. Put it on a fire. Some type of cookware, right? Something that will hold water. I could fry fish in there if I needed to. I could, potentially make some type of weird soup if that's what I wanted to do. Could be able to do multiple things with it. Not necessarily, not anything like a real shallow frying pan, but even some type of a deeper frying pan even would probably work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Because you could use utensils to eat with. You could use your hands, but you could probably fashion that out of bamboo or something, right? Bowls to eat out of. You could probably
use coconuts for bowls. Yeah, sure.
Like all
that. You can't really cook with. You couldn't cook with coconut shells.
Yeah, yeah. You would have to try to fashion a spick or something and roast. Yeah. And I think it'd just be easier to cook things if you had some type of cookware like that.
Yep. No, I get it. Maybe you could find, I don't know, a thin stone to use as a flat top. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, having some sort of a metal can or bowl or something would be optimal. My 5th, and I wouldn't mind having a volleyball or a rock or whatever. I talk to myself a lot anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Is a first aid kit, only because I'm not necessarily worried too much about some things. What I'd be most worried about would be infections. But having a first aid kit gets you basically, for short term at least, bandages, ointments, basic medications, right? Whether it's Tylenol or Advil or whatever, ibuprofen and all that. But I think that in the case of being on an island, chances are you might get nicked up, you might get scrapes, you might get cuts, you might whatever. Being able to fight infection, because I think a lot of people don't understand that infection is going to kill you before a lot of other things will. And having a first aid kit would probably be pretty important in my eyes.
Yeah, but you're also talking about, I think about that, and I think about when it comes to infection and it comes to, I think about with it being a deserted island, like you may not know what plants are going to be deadly. You may not, there's going to be so much risk that I don't know that I'm willing to scrap, and you don't know how long you're going to be there. I don't know that I'm willing to scrap that since the risk is already high, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm willing to sacrifice one of my 5 items for something like that.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I guess that's what kind of makes it fun,
Yeah.
So what would your 5th item be then?
Man, I'm having a hard time even coming up with a 5th.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm trying to think like what all do I need, and it's like I think I've covered the main basics.
I thought about like a life straw or some sort of water filtering system, but I don't think that I would
I mean, we're assuming there's fresh water on this island.
You would assume, right? Or even if it's salt water, there's ways that you'll be able to hydrate. So I wouldn't waste it on a live straw. You could.
Yeah, you can get moisture coconuts, out of plants, and you can collect rain, and there's other things.
Absolutely. So I wouldn't. Yeah. I thought about that. I thought about like a shovel almost, or a multi-tool. But I'm thinking, I really don't need those things. I could dig with something else. I don't know if I need a multi-tool or not. There's so many things.
Yeah, you can dig with a hatchet.
So. Absolutely, you can. So there's a lot of things that I was like, what about this? What about that? And I started, you know what? Not really. So, yeah, coming up with 5 was actually, it's not as easy as it sounds, honestly.
Yeah.
That G-Web says a radio to call a boat. Well, we said no electronics. No electronics.
He came in late as usual.
He
didn't listen to the rules.
No, he doesn't care about rules.
Man, we've already got shoes. We've already got all that. What in the world? What could I possibly need?
I thought about compasses. I thought about duct tape. I thought about all sorts of stuff. I don't know.
Man, here's something outside the box. I'm going to go with this. Flagging tape. Flagging tape.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because you can mark trails. You can mark certain plants that were dangerous. Like this one's got 3 ribbons around it. Don't touch it. This one, this one ribbon is this is the way to the freshwater or whatever, right? You could use that flagging tape to mark certain things. That way you wouldn't get lost necessarily, right? You could follow the ribbons, the markers as you explored. Just do the Hansel and Gretel thing, but instead of dropping crumbs, you mark a tree or something. Mm-hmm. And then, you can always go back to where you started, follow those ribbons. So flagging tape.
I got to bring this up. This is funny. G-Web says, okay, an 80% radio then. Technology, not a radio yet. Interesting.
That's funny. Where are you going to get the parts to finish it or the tools?
Yeah. The professor isn't on the island with you. Faith says, no, Clover, this is outside the box. Will any of these weapons or cooking utensils or a volleyball work against a true threat of living on an island help against the wrath of nature, which is a hurricane? Well, let's just be honest. If you're stranded on an island and a hurricane comes in, I mean, it is what it is.
Well,
I mean, your luck has already gotten bad. It might just have gotten worse, but you can dig maybe a little bit.
If you've used my flagging tape to explore the island, more than likely you have found a cave, and you hole up in a cave until the hurricane passes. There you go, done.
There you go. Yeah, it was, like I said, kind of fun. I enjoyed. I was listening to a podcast. Monday or Tuesday. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm at work. I just put my earbuds in and while I'm getting work done, I listen to it. And one of them was talking about survival stuff. And it wasn't about a deserted island. He's like, what are some of the things that you'd want to have on you if you're having to survive and all that? So I was like, well, what if you were on an island, and you could only get 5 things to take with you, or you got, a wish list of 5 things or whatever. It's kind of cool to think about. It's fun. All right, boys and girls, Clover is going to tell you guys, if you're out there, this is the time of the podcast where our last segment is going to come from you. So he's going to tell you how to make sure that you're in the running to be chosen. And then this is sponsored by our good friends over at Monstrum Tactical. So we'll talk a little bit about Monstrum as well.
Yes, we will. So while we're doing that, drop a 15 in the chat, not the word, but the number, a 1 and a 5. No space, obviously. 15 in the chat if you want a shot at picking our third and final topic of the evening. And be doing that while we talk about Monstrum Tactical here. Then we will spin the wheel, and somebody will have the opportunity to keep us going here for the last few minutes of the podcast. So, Monstrum Tactical.
Monstrum. Yeah. Ironically, I got an email from someone, I think it was Thursday or Friday. And it was like, hey, let's watch one of your videos, blah, blah, blah. I don't know who this person is. I think they maybe just found one of my videos somewhere, but took the time to email, which I think is always awesome. But it's like, hey, kind of getting into guns, just bought my first AR, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. What are some good, he said, red dots that I could get, and obviously there's a few companies that we all know and love and work with and all that, but obviously Monstrum was one of them. I said, if you're looking for a specific red dot, or are you just looking for an optic? And he didn't know the difference. He just calls everything a red dot. It's not a problem. But yeah, I think that as far as and the inexpensive side goes, what you get with Monstrum is you're not going to get an expensive optic, but you're going to get an optic that is crazy good for the price. It is they're optics that probably should be or could be priced a couple times more than what they are. They truly do care about value versus price and maximizing value and maximizing quality for a good price. And they're proud of that. They're not ever going to try to jump into the upper echelon of optics. They know where they're good at and they know where they are. And they have so many different options, whether LPVOs or prisms or red dots, or the list goes on. And people don't even think about this. And Clover, we talk about this all the time. But one of the best things that Monstrum does are their mounts. Whether it's rings or optic mounts, man, they're as good as anybody out there with mounts and rings.
Yeah, and the variety they got's crazy. They've got, whether you're looking for a variety because you're looking for something that we all know that mounting optics is like the first step to making sure that it's going to work for you. They have to be mounted properly, and typically lower to the barrel, lower to the bore is better, and depending on how that firearm is set up, and what the height over bore and all that good kind of stuff is for your rails, like all of that matters. And so having a company, there's nothing more aggravating, and I ran into this last week looking for some stuff for a project, and there's nothing more aggravating than finding a company that sells X product that doesn't have one that fits your specific need. And that's one of the cool things about Monstrum is they offer so much that whether your specific need is the way that it fits, and we're talking about the mounts and
reticles, or
whether it's the way it fits, whether it's the height, the positioning, or even the looks. That's what's crazy. They got some mounts that are badass.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not any better than the other mount they got that's maybe $3 or $4 cheaper or something. It's got these lightning cuts in it or something. It just fucking looks cool.
Exactly.
And so that's the cool thing about Monstrum and all their mounting stuff is just the options are almost endless with all that, for real.
Absolutely.
And the LPVOs, here's the other thing about the mounts is LPVOs, they come with all that. They already come with cantilever
mounts. They do. Montana says, I just picked up a Monstrum Banshee 1-8 LPVO. It definitely hits above its weight for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yep. So, type 15 in the chat. We're getting ready to hit that randomizer,
Yeah, let's spin it. So
spin that wheel. No whammies. No whammies.
Big thanks to Monstrum Tactical. If you see them around the socials, again, just like EAA, tell them we said hey. Tell them we said thank you. Yeah, here we go. Spinning the wheel. If your name pops up, you've got about 30 seconds or so to get that topic into us. And Triple
Screaming Skull Saloon. This could get interesting, boys. This could get interesting.
He was one of the first ones to put 15 in. So
he was.
Hopefully he is still out there and has his topic on deck. We'll vamp a little bit till it pops up. But if you're out there, bro, get it in.
Yeah, I get a text. Speaking of, I get a text from our buddy Jeremy over at VauntLink a couple nights ago. Randomly said, "Hey, I got a buddy getting ready to go on a trip, a hunting trip or whatever. I think it was maybe a hunting or getting ready for hunting season or something, and asked about some cool different options, optic options, and obviously Monstrum was one of the that I listed, and he came back and he said, I thought they just did red dots. No, sir, they do not. It's not just a red dot game over there at Monstrum.
Yeah. Nope. We're gonna spin again.
All right. Jacob says he's got a topic ready and typed in and ready to go. Sorry, Triple S. Maybe Jacob's name comes up.
You snooze, you lose.
You lose. Faith. All right. Faith. Oh, hold on here.
Pause.
Triple S. Pause for the cause. Triple S came in.
Just in
Sorry,
time.
Faith. Sorry, Faith. He says, backup handgun for carry or no, perhaps just a knife or spray. If so, which backup would you choose? Entries, I'll let you start with this one if you want.
So we're talking about EDC.
EDC, yeah. Backup handgun for carry or no. And if you don't use a handgun, would you use anything for backup?
I go no, and I'm always going to have a knife.
Yeah.
And let me back up on the backup here. I would go no in most situations.
Yeah.
For me, carrying is situational. So in most situations, I would not go with the backup.
Sure.
And I've always got a knife. As far as spray, like I've never carried spray. Like I've my kids and stuff have before and things like that. My wife has it. No. I don't want. For me, spray is one of those things that could just piss somebody off even more.
Right.
And if I'm in an altercation where I'm close enough that I have to use a knife, it's pretty fucking obvious what's going down, right? One of us ain't leaving an arm's length. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it comes down to having to have, especially one of those two, now in states where it's legal, and I'm thinking they're probably legal here now, but like the little batons.
Oh yeah,
I can see a situation.
The one that you like kind of it expands. Where you yeah.
Those like the asp. Cool. The asp is the one like a name brand one I can think of. Absolutely. I think law enforcement carry those, but I can see a situation maybe for that. I've never carried one, and I don't know the laws around them, but maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Just a knife with somewhere around a 3-inch. Probably blade, preferably with some type of quick deployment, not a just a regular old timer style folder. Spring assist or either flip or spring assist.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you this: if you were going to go with a backup carry gun, what would you choose as your backup carry gun?
If I was going to choose a backup,
if
Ghost just booted himself. That was hilarious. I think what he was saying was, if I was going to carry a backup, what would I carry?
That was awfully weird. I've got buttons on the side of my mouse, and I guess and one of them is the back button. So I need to disable those buttons. What I need to do.
So
if you were going to, in a situation where you felt like you needed a backup gun, what would you maybe carry?
I would probably carry North American Arms 22 Magnum. Talking about things that I already own, right?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe Ruger LCP.
Yeah.
Possibly interject which is one of my EDCs now in my 3-gun rotation, is the Taurus Protector Poly 38.
Yeah.
So probably one of those 3 would enter into that rotation.
I know that you like to carry your Glock 42.
Yeah, primary for sure.
But I know that you also have a not a huge rotation, but you do have a rotation of carry guns.
Well, I've got a 3-gun.
Maybe you carried something else and maybe use the 42 as your backup.
Yeah. This is true, and I my brain was already kind of going there before you said.
Yeah.
So I've got a 3-gun, what I would consider the primary rotation, which is the Glock 42, the Brad 84, and the Taurus.
Yeah.
The Beretta 84 probably getting pretty close to being retired. Me playing around with 30 Super Carry, just saying.
Yeah,
But
sure. I hear you.
anyway, if I was to deviate to, hey, I want, like right now, I'm carrying the 30 Super Carry a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, or let's say that it's a situation where I want an open carry a 1911, or
Yeah.
something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, that would get into the mix. 42 would definitely get into the mix as a backup, and I do have an ankle holster for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually carry that primary in an ankle holster,
Sure.
just
Absolutely.
because that's how I have to do it. So it's already pretty easy to facilitate that if I need to.
Yeah. For me, I would, I wouldn't, I don't like carrying backup guns. I might have maybe 2 or 3 times in my entire life. That said, if I was going to, I'd probably go with, probably my bodyguard 380. I know it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a pocket thing that could be a pretty easy, secondary carry. I do like the idea of the ankle holster. I do have an ankle holster that's kind of a universal. It's not for the bodyguard, but the great thing about the bodyguard is it's so small. Basically, it can fit into. So, I mean, a universal ankle holster, absolutely great way to go with it. So I would definitely go with something kind of small as a backup gun. I don't particularly like backup guns myself, but it is what it is. I always have a knife on me, and for most people that know me, my knife of choice is a folding karambit, and I always have a folding karambit of some style on me at all times. So I always have a knife as a backup. Um, so a folding karambit is definitely my definite backup weapon, if you will. And a lot of times it actually might be the primary, even though I might be carrying. I still might go to my karambit. It's more of a fighting knife and all that. But I would probably, there's a good chance, especially if it was close quarters, right up in there. I would probably choose the knife as my primary and leave my carry gun as the backup, possibly. I don't know. As far as sprays, yeah, I would never carry a spray. Wife, daughter, all that. I have no problem. But for me, I wouldn't carry a spray. So it's going to be gun and knife for sure. Those are my two that I'm always going to have on me. But my knife of style is a folding karambit. Now I do have a lot of auto spring assisted, but auto knives that I do love. But I've got so many of these folding karambits that I love. I love these things.
Now, for the record,
Yeah.
when I was talking about auto deploy or spring assist or whatever you want to call it, gravity, flip knife, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about OTF. You know me, I hate.
Oh yeah, no, I know you hate that stuff. Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear if somebody thinks that that's what I mean. Definitely. I just can't stand them. So
no, I get it.
Yeah, we're talking about and that's the good thing, I guess, about what I'm talking about is, you could probably get a knife I'm talking about for what, $10 at a gun show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can probably get them. You know what? If you go to Walmart on certain days, you can probably get them for a few dollars on a sale.
Right. This is true.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Pat wants to know, a great question, real quick, if you don't mind taking a couple. Pat says, do y'all carry a truck gun like a PCC or a small AR? Yeah, I've got a couple different ARs. I tell you what, I'm really having fun with that might become the new truck gun. I tell you what, this little tactical lever action I'm having a blast with. That might become a new truck gun for me. But yeah, I carry a little 9mm PCC in my truck. Actually, in my truck, when I'm going somewhere, honestly, to be honest with you, I probably have up to about maybe 7 or 8 different guns at any given time in my vehicle. Not by choice, not by design. Sometimes is if I'm going to the range or whatever. There's times I might have up to 7 or 8 guns in my vehicle. So, but yeah, I'll always have a little PCC or AR pistol, whatever, with me. Truck guns, yes, no, sometimes.
So, once upon a time, yes, but it would be like a rifle, typically like a lever action. not so much anymore. That is morphed or changed into just a bigger handgun of some sort.
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
And
like a 2011 or
I
something
am
like
not,
that. Yeah.
now I'm not opposed, but as you know, and a lot of you out there, obviously in the chat that know me, I'm coming around to the idea of pistol braces.
Well, you're at least entertaining the idea.
Yeah, and I've got that Strybog 22, which by the
Yeah.
way is the most fucking fun. It's the best fun you can have on the planet.
Yeah.
With that thing is amazing to play with. But I would not. I don't think I could handle carrying a 22. You know what I mean? Now, if that Strybog was 9mm, that definitely would have potential of being.
Do you not have a PCC and 45? I thought you had a 45.
I do. I've got the X-Star.
X-Star.
It does not have
Wouldn't that be
a
kind of
brace.
fun? Wouldn't that be kind of cool though to have a 45 PCC as your truck gun? That would be some damage.
It would need a brace, honestly.
Yeah.
The way it is, I don't. You kind of got to sling it up the way it is. That's how it's set up now. Is to utilize the sling. And I would definitely want a brace on it if I was going to use it as a truck gun. But you're right, that would be pretty awesome. It would be either that or, like I said, out of what I got now, I'd definitely just brace that. And maybe I need to look into how. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh snap! I've got the brace on that now.
On the X-Star?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
well,
remember?
You go.
If you remember the 2A organization powers that be, I don't know who all thought that, but you remember the injunction or whatever on the pistol brace
FPC and GOA, yeah.
And X-Star started selling their factory brace for that again.
Oh,
and I I haven't done any videos with it. That's probably why I wasn't thinking about it. But I did pick up since I put the brace on. Yeah. But I did pick up the factory brace for that. So yeah, that is definitely an option. I would need bigger magazines. Right. Now
sure.
That would be the only thing. But yeah, that definitely would be an option. A current option anyway.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool.
Well, thanks for now I got to get extra magazines and shit.
I'm glad I'm spending your money, bro.
Who did that? Who put that out there?
Bastard. For the PCC, that was Pat. Yeah, Pat did that.
Fucking Pat.
Good job,
okay.
Pat. Yeah,
thanks. Appreciate that. You could super chat or something so I could buy a magazine. Just saying.
I love it. Spend some of that leprechaun gold,
right. Well, not all of us have big Amazon money like G, right?
That's true. Thanks to Triple S. This is a great topic, fun topic. And thanks to Monstrum for sponsoring that segment. It's a fun one. Like we said, if you're watching this in replay or listening to podcasts, we do invite you to the live show. We do record this in front of a live studio audience, if you will. So come be a part of the fun. There's some great people out here that are always here supporting and great conversations and all that. So come join us. What you got going on the next week or two? It's going to be a couple weeks before we have another Ghost and Clover, 2 weeks from tonight. What you got going on between now and then? Probably some podcasts, huh?
Just podcasts is about it, quite honestly. I haven't really been putting out obviously a lot of my personal business, but there's some setbacks and things that are causing the normal flow of content to get interrupted. So maybe, I'm going to try to get something filmed. Hopefully this coming week as far as a normal video, but we do have like 3 podcasts this week.
There you go.
I'm trying to think of who's on deck now, who's on first, so to speak. Dan C. Bearded tomorrow, so we'll have Beard Talk tomorrow, and then Tuesday is Yehuda Pew Pew Jew.
Okay,
and then I think we've got High Point before the week's out coming in.
Speaking of PCCs, right?
Yeah, right. Go figure. So,
if you never said a High Point PCC, folks, go treat yourself. It's fantastic. They're fantastic over there. Just saying.
Yep. And they have a ton of caliber or cartridges.
Yes, they do.
Like they've
one of my favorite PCCs of all time is the high power 10mm. Fantastic PCC.
Oh man, you were talking about 45. They're 45 pretty sweet. Like my dad's got a 45. I'm eventually going to go up there and get it out of his safe and do a video since I've got 2 or 3 others now. And I'm gonna throw it into the mix, I think. But I shoot the 45 carbine anytime we go to a range day at a show or something. Like if they've got it there, I'm shooting the 45 because I just love it. 45 in a carbine is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just put a video out. I remember it was Friday, maybe Thursday, Friday. I don't remember. Last couple days. With the new SAR USA, the SOCOM Compact. I tell you what, bro. I love this gun. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm not surprised. You like the original SAR-9.
The SAR-9, yeah, and this is just it feels amazing. It's just the upgraded, but it's more of a compact size, and it does fit the original SAR-9. I busted out the old SAR-9 holster, and I got a couple for the old original SAR-9. This gun fits in it like a dream. But yeah, it's fantastic. Go check out that video. We've got a cool one coming. I'm not gonna spread it out a little bit here on the hints, but this weekend's video is going to be pretty amazing. So be on the lookout for that one. But yeah, we obviously have the podcast Tuesday night, the Armed Citizen podcast live at 7 Central, 8 Eastern over on our Ghost Tactical channel. Go check out CloverTac. Make sure that you are subscribed to the CloverTac Podcast channel as well, because that's where the podcasts are being hosted now. And like I said, thank you to everyone out there for always showing up during this podcast. We love you guys. Thank you for always supporting our projects. We do have a couple new t-shirts over. Go check out our Spreadshirt. We got a couple t-shirts out there. And go check out our website, grapecrayons.com. It's our new website as well, grapecrayons.com. You'll love it.
I've got a new
one.
Oh,
do you?
Fantastic. Collab. You've seen the collab with
Camarado. Oh, yeah. The Hawaiian camp shirt. Yeah.
Camarado.com/CloverTac.
There you go.
Check that out. So pretty neat.
Yeah, go check out our merch, baby. Our merch. But yeah, thank you guys for always supporting both of our projects and our channels and everything that we do, buying our merch, sending the super chat, supporting us however you can. More importantly, maybe just sharing or watching our stuff. That's just as important as anything. But we do ask you, as always, to go and support our sponsors, EAA and Monstrum Tactical. Like I said, if you feel inclined to purchase some of their products, obviously that'd be amazing because they're great products. Even if you're not, maybe just go over to any of their social medias on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, whatever. Just leave a comment saying, hey, thanks for sponsoring the Ghost and Clover podcast. It does mean a lot. Scott says you need to do a crayon shirt, Ghost. I do. Just Google Spreadshirt Ghost Tactical. And I did a shirt earlier in the year, maybe even last year, that I kind of did it, make it look like the Coca-Cola t-shirt. It says, I love crayons. And actually, that's one of my top selling t-shirts. Go figure. But I do have a crayon shirt. It's fantastic. But yeah, go check out our sponsors. Leave a note. Tell them thank you for sponsoring us and all that. We do appreciate you guys. Be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tonight, which would be what, the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? 14 days from today, it'd be the 22nd. Assuming that everything goes well in our lives and there's no hurricanes or anything like that. Absolutely be here at 8 Central, 9 Eastern to catch us live. Chloe, got anything before we get out of here?
Eating chips is like stretching.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.